Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, it's Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. I hope everybody's doing well. This is episode 81. Well, I know I missed out. I know I was supposed to do a podcast last week, but I had a business trip planned, and in the course of getting ready for a business trip, you had a lot of stuff that you have to do. So I wasn't able to get in the booth and spit some bars last week. And if you notice, my voice sounds a little off. Yeah, your boy got the regular sinus infection while he was up in New Orleans. Now, New Orleans was great. I learned things. You know, obviously you want to learn things. My wife is a Saints fan, so we went to a Saints game. They won. We had, really good seats. Everything went well. The fans, both teams, it was trash talking, and don't mind that trash talking, but it was professional. You didn't see people trying to throw each other off of balconies and fighting in the restrooms and stuff like that. It was what you would want to do when you go out for a football game or any type of venue. You want to go out and have a good time, and if you're playing against an opposing team, yeah, there's going to always be some trash talking, but, you keep it civil. I mean, you're not making any money unless you bet on the game and you won, right? So just keep it civil. But New Orleans was great. We partook in the culture. We did some I did one tour. My wife, she was doing multiple tours. So I got to learn some things. I will tell you this. One thing that I was kind of struck by was New Orleans is very culturally diverse if you're there. Now, obviously, the population is, you're going to always have your pockets where you see more of one race and everything. That's just kind of how, things work, I guess, in most places. It's very culturally diverse. And the thing that struck me was just how nice everyone was. Now, obviously, you have a few outliers, a few, people who give you mean looks, and I was explaining to my wife, maybe it's because they're not used to, somebody being nice. Maybe they're having a bad day. So I try to take that at a grain of salt. But 99% of everybody there was just, so welcoming, so cool. And it was like that last time the other two times we went to New Orleans. But this time, because I was gone for a while, we actually got a chance to kind of settle in and just not be, hey, we're going here, we're going here. We actually got a chance to chill, and I was surprised at how nice everybody is, especially when the climate that we are now. You would think that you would have, people kind of looking at each other kind of weird and arguing about things, but no, it was great. I wish the world were like that, in a sense that you could just, you could, like, okay, here's what I say. I think we can agree, or most can agree, that everybody wants, for the most part, the same thing. You want to be able to take care of you and your family and stuff like that. Be safe, right? And that's kind of how I felt up there, the way everything was going. So business convention went good. It was good, but I think my business has shifted with some of the things that I'm looking at doing. I'm no longer, and I mean, I don't know if anybody knows this, but there was a time where I was looking into building a big facility to house things that we were doing. Had everything really ready, and for reasons that I scratched my head, I actually know why things didn't go that route, and it wasn't on me. But you go through the journey, and I'm kind of when I look back at it, I'm like, you know what? It was probably a good thing that I didn't go that route because yeah, it would have been important to bring that here, but there's a lot of headaches that are associated with running a place of that magnitude with the type of things that you're going to be trying to bring, and my mind is shifted to other things. So yeah, it was good, because when I started going, that was where my mind was with the business, but my mind is shifted, and as much as we enjoyed ourselves, I have to look and say, hey, is this something I'm gonna do in the future? Because obviously, if you're going to, spend the money and the time, you want to make sure that it's something that's um, not catering to you, but they have something that pertains to you, right? So like if there's one seminar that I've tried to find that they cover something that, I can't find and they have it at this convention, I think it would be worth traveling and going. But yeah, it was really cool, going in and meeting all the different vendors and stuff. Um, some of the vendors are vendors that I've kind of had dealings with, or I've seen that, that particular business has a lot of negativity around it as far as clients, as far as what their business, but they're there, so I guess some people are happy with them, right? But no, it was nice. It was nice. I did enjoy myself going through it. Um, I wasn't as odd and felt like out of place this time because I had went through it before. So I had a little bit more of a structured plan and was able to go through and stuff. So overall, it was a great trip, but this portion is sponsored by 915 Carpet Cleaning. They take care of all of your needs, whether it's residential or commercial, whether it's flooring or carpet. 915 Carpet Cleaning, they get the job done. Look up 915 Carpet Cleaning, the carpet cleaner you know before you need one. There was a storm that came through in El Paso on a Sunday, and I saw it come through. Well, we weren't here, we had already left. And then I saw it moving east, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's coming this way, and it hit Dallas, and I checked in on the fam, and they some people had some really bad damage, and lo and behold, it was coming to New Orleans, and yeah, it hit New Orleans, and it was like I was okay, and then all of a sudden, a little rain, I got a little wet from walking, and then I had to. When I did that, I was like, oh damn. But I just got it's weird. It's like I get a sinus infection once or twice a year, nothing heavy. It's just more uncomfortable than anything because of trying to talk with the voice and stuff. So I went through it, not that big of a deal. The missus, I think I got her sick, and hers was really bad, so I feel bad for that, but we overall had a great time. All right, so that's why I wasn't in the boot last week, and I was thinking about doing a podcast while I was up there, but I was like, man, you know what? I'll just wait. I'm sure my gazillions of followers who listen won't be too upset if I skip a week. So that's where I was, and I hope to visit New Orleans again. I know she wants to make it one of those like, well, this is where we go. This is our vacation place. But look, I like the food. The food was okay. I at first I wasn't feeling the food, but this time I was like, you know what, I'm gonna eat some of the different foods, and I did, and some of them were pretty good. I don't know. I guess I just expected it to taste different in some ways, but for the most part, I was cool. Now I can't eat shrimp. I used to, but I'm allergic to shrimp now, so that's part of the pain because I got to see people eating shrimp, and I can't eat it, but I can eat like catfish and stuff. So enough about me and my journeys. Let's get to what y'all really came here to do. Man, dog, you need to stop talking about that. Give us what we want. Okay, so let's get into things that interest me. Uh, I want to ask y'all, what is considered a blowout? I want to say I've mentioned this before, but I'm kind of curious because I was watching it was weird. There was a football game on, and as the game was ending, the score was like 21-10, I think. And it was like in the such and such, it's blown out. It was a blowout, and I'm thinking like, is an 11-point game a blowout? It's a two-score game in essence. So like I'm like, well, isn't a blowout considered like if you're like it's like 20 something points? So like if it's like, you know, 28 or 31-10, okay, I could see 31-10 being a blowout. But like, you know, to me it's just I don't know, it was just weird. And then you listen at basketball game, it was like the same day, and the team lost by like I think it was 15, 14 or 15 points, and it was like, they get the blowout win, and I'm thinking, well, is that really a blowout? I always thought 20-point victories were considered blowouts, or 25 or 30-point. I've never really considered 15 points a blowout because if you look at the way the game is played, that's 5 3-point possession. That's 5 trips. And that can change. I've seen games where teams were up 16-17 with like, 2 or 3 minutes left, and they lose because the team, knocks down shots, they get some turnovers, the team misses field goals, and they score. So I don't know what a blowout is. We maybe need to have a definition. Merriam-Webster's definition of a blowout. You know, a difference in point differential of at least, something like that, so we can pinpoint. Because we listen to Merriam, we don't listen to Webster like we used to. It is funny though, because sometimes you can type in a word and you look at the different dictionaries, and I be damned, sometimes they have a little bit of different take on what the definition is. And if you really want to go like off the reservations, or if you not off the reservations, if you really want to go rogue, look up Urban Dictionary, because Urban Dictionary has stuff, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know. So it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to educate myself on some things, because some some of the stuff that's on the Urban Dictionary, like, for real, that's something. But in any case, yeah, I'm curious, what a blowout is. Y'all let me know what y'all think. What is the definition of a blowout in a game? Whatever sport it is. Obviously, if it's soccer, if it's like a 6-1, I think that's a blowout, because I think anything in soccer over four, like if it's 4 point victory, I would say maybe, or 3 point victory, maybe that's considered a blowout. But and in baseball, same thing, 10-1, that's a blowout. But yeah, let me know what y'all think a blowout is. Okay, the other day I was able to watch the Celtics and the T-Wolves play. And what I wanted to see what Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum did against each other. Now, Anthony Edwards is with the Timberwolves. He's a shooting guard, and Tatum's with the Celtics. Why does that matter, Kay? Well, it was just a game. Well, during the summer, Netflix had this show come out. I think it's called Starting Five. But in it, there was an excerpt, or there's a line when they're talking to Anthony Edwards, and Anthony Edwards says he's talking about Jason Tatum, like, yeah, he tried to go at me twice, like he was gonna get me, and I locked his ass up. Y'all talking about he the best player in the world, man. Y'all tripping, right? So he said it. Now, Anthony Edwards talks a lot of trash, good, bad, or indifferent, and that's okay. But I kept thinking to myself, yeah, I know I want to see that game, because I want to see if Tatum goes at Anthony Edwards and vice versa. And there were moments where they did guard each other, and they looked for each other to on each side of the court. Primarily, excuse me, primarily it was Jalen Brown who guarded Anthony Edwards most of the game, and they both had a pretty good game. Boston ended up winning by 2. They were up by 20, and I think sometimes with some of these teams when they're really good or when they have you, they sometimes relax. As in, they're like, okay, we're up 20, as opposed to like, man, let's push it up to 40, right? You stay aggressive. You just try to coast. And, Minnesota's an excellent team, and they've been finding their way throughout the season. So you have those things going on with them, and it wasn't as much join between them two because I don't think Tatum really talks a lot of trash. Now Jaylen Brown and Anthony Edwards were, they were going back and forth a couple of times with things they were talking about, and I like that. That's healthy competition. I really feel that and understand that, when you've gone through that kind of stuff. But I will tell you this: after the game, 90% of the time, guys are, hey, good game, hug, hey, way to play. I like what you're doing. Yeah, we busted y'all ass today. That kind of stuff. Jason Tatum didn't want any of that. He was actually going towards the locker room, right? He didn't stay out. And now they had to grab him because I guess they were going to talk to him and stuff. He didn't want anything to do with that. So that led me to believe that it was something there. That was a thing, that it was, yeah, he not feeling Anthony Edwards running his mouth like that. So I can't wait for part 2 when they play each other, because it's important to see healthy competition, and it's important to have some kind of general disdain for people. Long as you don't long as it's not personal hatred, you can have like, oh, okay, yeah, nah, man, I don't want to, look, I ain't trying to holler at you, dog. If you running your mouth about me, you can't make those kind of statements about me and then be like really cool. And I'm trying to remember if this came out during the Olympics or after the Olympics. I want to say it was maybe during, but I can't remember because I can't remember really hearing about it until after the Olympics or something. But I could be totally off. But when they play an Olympics team, I didn't see a ton of hanging out and boys and stuff. But in any case, yeah, they was going at it. They really were going at each other, and I really enjoyed that. Okay, so let me get into the college football chaos. That's exactly what I'm calling it. And I am so glad for this chaos. I think the transfer portal is really starting to level the playing field in the sense that even the quote unquote dominant teams, they're not dominant. Okay, Oregon is number 1. All right, they hadn't lost a game, but they haven't looked dominant. They've squeaked by some teams, and there have been some games that they should have won by 20-something, 30-something points, right? So I haven't seen that team that's like, I don't think anybody can beat them. There were years ago where I saw teams that's like, yeah, nah, man. You might as well just give them the trophy and everybody play for second because nobody's going to beat that team, right? But I get it. That's why you play the season, because you need to see. And what's happened is everybody's beating up on each other. There are a few teams with 0 losses, but that's going to change. And the reason why I love the chaos is because it's really going to put pressure on the committee to properly place the 12. Look, we were in a world where it used to be a world where there were no picks. It was just these 2 teams finish, and these are the 2 teams that everybody thinks should play, so they're going to play for the national championship. There was no voting system. There was no way to look over it. There were years where you had 3 or 4 teams that could legitimately be, the national in the national title. They were passed over, right? Then you went into, the college football playoffs, and then you had 4 teams. And you got, hey, I don't know, number 5 and number 6. Hey, man, we should be in there. And you had years where you had, you know, three or four, maybe 5 teams that were undefeated, and it was like, hey, we should have an opportunity to play, but because of whatever numbers, analytics and stuff, metrics that they looked at, those teams were passed over. Well, now we got 12, and you're already hearing teams that are ranked number 14 and 15 saying, hey, we should be in the playoffs. And so if you put everybody in the playoffs, you probably still have somebody complain, right? But right now you got 12 teams, and you're not going to have a clear picture until everybody plays their conference championship. I don't think anybody's going to go undefeated. I think everybody's going to have at least one loss. I think Oregon's, maybe they might not lose this week, but I think Oregon's going to possibly lose to Ohio State because it's going to be a revenge game for them. And Ohio State, didn't look like what they should have looked, but, I guess Oregon didn't look as well as what they should have looked. So maybe they just kind of canceled each other out. But I have a feeling Ohio State's going to meet them in the Big Ten championship and beat them. SEC is just SEC. I don't think I don't know who's the best team in the SEC because they've all beaten up on each other, and I love that. So I tried to take a picture of what the playoffs were last week, and now I'm gonna take one today. Well, when the new information comes out, so I can see how it looks this week, and then it's gonna look different next week. So you won't know anything until the conference championship, because there's no guarantee that SMU or Boise State, or Oregon, I think those are the 3 undefeated teams that are in there, are going to finish undefeated, in their respective conference. There's a chance, but I believe SMU has to play, who is it? I want to say SMU has to play, maybe Clemson or somewhere, or maybe Miami. So who knows, right? So we will see how that pans out. I'm just excited because I like the chaos because, you don't have the traditional stuff going on. And now you have kids who are transferring to different teams and making these different teams more solid teams. You got Boise State who's in this national spotlight. BYU who was having a run, they were in the spotlight. SMU, who is a dominant good team, and they're getting their due. So I do like the mix up with people going different places and making a difference. The kid from Vanderbilt, the quarterback, was at New Mexico State last year when they had their successful run, and now he's at Vanderbilt, and that program's been really good this year. I think they should make a bowl. I think they've won 6 or 7 games. They've beat a couple of big time teams, so they're probably going to be a good team. Then you got Colorado, who had an opportunity, and they lost to a hot Kansas team, but they're going to be in a bowl. So it's just a lot of chaos going on, and I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so next I want to talk about, I call it the sophomore slump for NFL quarterbacks. NFL players in general, but mainly quarterbacks. Because the reality is when you have a successful year, your first year as a quarterback, you have to understand that, you're feeling yourself, and you don't understand that people don't have as much film on you to see things that you don't do well and things that you don't want to do. And once these coordinators and stuff and these defenses get that film, they tend to make you play a little bit more like you don't want to play. Well, I'm talking about CJ Stroud for the Texans. Phenomenal year. I love what he did, but I will say that between him, Tua, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, and there was someone else, I think Kyler Murray, the talk when they come into the league, you have some early success. Oh man, the league isn't as hard as what I thought. Huh? What do you mean it's not as hard as what you thought? And some don't say that. I think Tua alluded to it. I think Fields maybe alluded to it. I don't think Stroud used those words, but I think Stroud, with some of his comments, and how he was carrying himself, which was good. I'm not disparaging it, but it was kind of a, hey man, I'm good. I think I figured this out, without understanding that it takes you a good 2 or 3 years to really figure it out. There are exceptions. There are some exceptions where a guy is they're just that good. They're special. And obviously, if you're in the NFL, you are special. But they're special, and then they're special, right? And there are some players who are special. And I think Stroud will be special. But I think right now he's learning a hard road at how difficult it can be when teams find your weaknesses and they find out things you don't like to do. And here is the most important thing that quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, or quarterbacks anywhere, if you don't hear anything else, I say you need to hear this. When you're getting hit, that changes stuff. I don't know of any quarterback that gets better as they get hit, right? You can show me some and say, oh, well, he was able to stand in the pocket. Yeah, he knew that pocket. He got on his team about being clean. There are quarterbacks that they know they're going to get hit and they're making a throw, but you don't see quarterbacks getting hit like that over and over and over again and still willing to make that throw. No, it doesn't. To me, if you've seen it, if you know that it's happened, shout it out. I'll let your boy and let me know. Send me some film because I ain't seen it. I've seen the greatest quarterbacks of all times. They get hit a few times. That was the thing with Brady. You hit him early and you hit him consistently, he's going to have trouble. And when he loses, when he's lost, that's usually how it's been. Look at what happened with the Patriots, and when he was with the Patriots against the Giants those 2 times. They hit his ass. And they said it like, man, we knew we needed to get to him and hit him and make him uncomfortable. Peyton Manning, all of these quarterbacks, everybody. Now, even the running ones. You run, now you're open to be hit the way you don't want to be hit. So I think C.J. Stroud is going through a phase right now where he's trying to search things. He might be seeing ghosts a little bit because it's not as easy as it was coming onto the scene last year. And I think he'll right the ship, and I'm cheering for him. I don't want anybody to think I want him to fail. I just think I feel like it's kind of disrespectful for young people to come in and say, oh man, yeah, this hadn't been as hard as what I thought. Yeah, you ain't played long enough. Because if it was that easy, a lot of quarterbacks that were good would have multiple or would have at least one championship. There are guys who have been in the league, 15, 16, 17 years or plus that ain't even went to a Super Bowl. They played their whole career and not even had the success of getting to a Super Bowl or getting to an NFC or AFC championship, right? Or get into the playoffs. Some people ain't even sniffed it, which is crazy. So let's not, be disrespectful with what we say. If that's how you feel, then you need to keep it to yourself, because if I'm playing and all right, hey, when we play them, yo, coach, we need to really let this young man know, what it is. Those throws that you make in college, you can't make those here. That run, that speed that you think you have, yeah, well, our linebackers and some of our D linemen are just as fast as what you are, and will chase you down. So you got to respect the game. But we'll see. I think he'll be fine, and we'll see how that goes. All right, last thing I want to talk about is the New York Giants debacle. I mean, damn. All right, so what am I talking about with the debacle? Just recently, they parted ways with their starting quarterback, Daniel Jones. Now, I think they did him dirty because they moved him back, and then apparently they had him on the scout team as a safety. Like, how do you do that, right? Now, why is this a debacle? Well, a few years ago, they made it to the playoffs. They thought they had something, so they paid him a lot of money because I think it was 160, 140 or 160 over a certain amount of years, and he got his money because he got to the playoffs, and the analytics and the metrics say you got to have great quarterback play. So with the pay raises that all this quarterback gets, guys who are considered average or mediocre can make money. Now, all I'm going on is what I've seen. Daniel Jones has not been somebody that I've seen that is, oh yeah, nah, he's that franchise changing guy. Could he be? I don't know. I will tell you this year he wasn't. He was healthy finally, and he played kind of how I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I thought I would see from him, right? I don't know what it is, but okay, so he gets drafted. They make the playoffs, I think in his second year or so, and second or third year they make the playoffs, and then it's okay. They make the playoffs. Now it comes into well, we think he should be paid. Saquon Barkley thinks he should be paid. Well, who's going to get their money? Well, they decided to pay Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley's like, well, damn, I can't get paid. They bring in a new GM, Joe Shan. I think that's how his name is pronounced. Don't be upset with me. But he comes in, and they had Hard Knocks. They were on Hard Knocks. I think it was Hard Knocks training camp or off season or something. And what this did, I actually liked it, and I hope they do it again. But I don't know if other teams will do it. Is they chronicled from Super Bowl, the end of the Super Bowl, to like training camp. And they went through what the team was going to do on off season, are they making trades, who they're drafting, their scout team stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I know, but it's, kind of fascinating getting into their thought process. And what was cool about it is you got to see, you understand how stuff played out now by watching this show, because there was kind of dissension. Like, I had to watch the show again because I wanted to make sure that I understood things that I thought I saw. The owner didn't want to get rid of Barkley. The GM, Joe, I'll just call him GM Joe. That sounds weird, like G.I. Joe. But Joe, who's the GM, he was kind of, to me, he looked like he was using kind of the metric stuff and stuff with, well, running backs aren't valued as much right now. And it's been a 2 or 3 year period where running backs were starting to be devalued by people who were saying you don't need running backs to be successful, which I think is a bunch of bull, right? But if some teams go with analytics and they throw the ball a lot, right? They don't value a running back. If most of the league's trending that way, then that's kind of how it's going to be shaped. Well, they didn't want to pay Saquon. And Saquon, I guess, ended up getting paid the same amount of money that they were going to match. Now, there was conflicting stories about he got paid more than what they were going to offer. It was north of it. I think they could have paid him, right? Okay, so that's number one. I think they should have paid him because Teddy Bruschi, who played with the Patriots and is on ESPN, used it perfectly. They picked the QB over culture. Saquon was the heart and soul of that team. The owner said it, man. He's the most likable person here. Everybody loves him. His jersey sells. His way he is in the community, the way he is on the team. He was a glue. He was that guy. So they let him go. He goes to Philly. The owner says, I'm not going to sleep very well if he goes to a divisional rival. Well, guess what? He goes to a divisional rival, okay? Strike number one. You chose him. Now, it's like, oh, well, he's going to do what good. That's fine. We'll be fine, all right? So, now, they get rid of Saquon, or they let him go. He goes, signs, and now he's killing. So now they're looking at the GM now. And the GM is not somebody who just got hired. He has history. He had a good track record. He was with Buffalo as assistant GM, and he had a hand. I don't know enough to know if he actually scouted, and he was the one that said, hey, we need to, we need to draft Josh Allen, but he was part of there when they got drafted. So you got to give him, he gets a feather in his cap for that. Well, he looks at the NFL in a different prism, and I actually understood what his logic was with what he was doing as you watch the show. There were a few things that kind of made me tilt my head with what he did, and I felt it was disrespectful with how he did it. It was kind of subtle, but okay, all right, it is what it is, right? So now. Okay, they go through the board. Okay, we're going to lose Saquon. We can try to draft one of these, running backs and stuff. And we need to invest money in our line. We need to look at another, a good backup quarterback because Daniel Jones has a injury history, right? And you feel that that. You understand that. And they looked into possibly drafting a QB. But they passed. They gave him the money. They said we're gonna ride with him. And I know apparently there was some articles that Daniel Jones wasn't happy about when he found out about that. But it's like, yeah, you cannot be happy, but you got to understand where they're coming from, and you just let them know, yeah, now y'all, we good. I'm gonna make sure y'all understand that I'm the man here. So they don't draft a QB. They draft a wide receiver, number one. They use some of this money in the cap, and they look at multiple good backup QBs. Well, they get a QB in free agency. I think it was Drew Lock. God, I'm like, all of a sudden I can't think of who his name is. But they bring him in, sign him. They bring him in as the number 2, right? Then all of a sudden this happens with Daniel Jones. It's apparent that they're not going to keep Daniel Jones. So what do? They elevate Danny DeVito from the number 3 to the number 2. Well, why did you put money and invest in Drew Lock as your number 2? Why not just put that money, give Danny DeVito a little bit of money, give him a bump? I shouldn't say that because that's kind of, it's weird because he's an Italian. That word is kind of associated in the mafia. You're going to get a bump. That means you're going to get a raise. But that's not where I was trying to go, but it's just kind of weird how I went that way. So you could have given him some money and then maybe, got somebody else to come in and be a number 3 or draft somebody way in the back to be the number 3 and go from there. But you got this guy to be your number 2. When you got rid of your quarterback, you moved your number 3 over your number 2 to the starting. And then Drew Lock, they asked him, he's like, I don't know what we're doing. I thought I was brought here to be the number 2. I don't know what to say. I'm shocked. He's not happy. So you do all of that, and now you've created a shit show. You created a shit show because right now it is apparent that you have no plan. You don't. Now you got your players coming out talking about the coaches and what they're doing and everything, and now you're getting a dysfunction. So that is a mess in itself. And if you want to understand it, look at the Hard Knocks. I don't know if it's I don't think it's training camp. I don't know what it's said, but it's Hard Knocks and it's the New York Giants. I think it's Hard Knocks off season, but it's the one that came out this year. It is really fascinating, and you're gonna get a kick because you know what happens now. but you get to see what they did and why they did it up to it, and it's like, yeah, nah, y'all dropped the ball. Y'all really screwed it up. And Saquon has a chance to be MVP. They're gonna make the playoffs, possibly NFC Championship, possibly Super Bowl. Great chance to win. Imagine if he gets to the Super Bowl and he wins the Super Bowl. Could you imagine that? Oh my God! And the Giants fans were booing him. I mean, they loved him, but they hated him because initially they thought that he left them. But once you see all of this play out, it wasn't him. He wanted to stay, but they just kind of made it easy for him to not stay. If that makes any sense. But yeah, fascinating, and it's a thing. It's terrible. It's bad. That whole situation's bad, and I even posted on my Facebook after Saquon ran that other 70. Saquon just ran for another touchdown. No, I'm just playing. The game's not on. The game's over. He ran about 250 yards, but after that game was over, I said, man, after watching that, the owner gonna probably fire everybody because you got to be upset because the owner knew. I don't want to get rid of him, and that might have been one of those times where he probably should have put his foot down and say, look, I understand what you're doing. I'm letting you run the team, but he stays. He has been our belt. He has been our guy. He stays. We'll work around some other stuff, but he stays. That didn't happen. So it is what it is. All right. Let me get into my basketball ideology. Okay, so I was talking. I had I was doing a training with one of my high school students, and was going over certain concepts with what they should be doing offense and on defense in their plays, and just talk to them about stuff. And the parent, I want to say the parent brought it up or asked a question about something, and I was describing to him about how. Oh no, I was describing to him about how look, when the season is on, you need to be locked in. You need to be locked in practice. You need to be locked in, on the court. You need to lock in because everything is important. And they were like, yeah, we get that, we understand that. But I had to hit the point home that obviously high school is not professional. Obviously high school isn't in college. But if you are on a team, it's that part is the same. Your practice, how your practice leads to playing and all of that stuff is pretty much the same, right? So I go all through that to go through this. I was explaining to them that there was a time where we had a kid that we trained, and the kid played at Pebble Hills, and we were saying about what I was trying to convey to them, to the parents, is, look, when you're at practice, I know what it was. It was because they were talking about they were going to be playing in a tournament, and the kid was going to get a chance to play a little bit more because 5 of the other kids were going on vacation. So they weren't going to be at the next few games because it's, holidays and the family's taking them on vacation. And I just simply said, I get that as a family, you have traditions, you want to do things, but you got to know, I told him, I said, but they got to know that this is going to affect their playing time when they come back. It just is. It's just one of them things to where, no, you don't, everybody's in this together for the season. So in the pros, you don't, other than like, death in the family, baby being born, some personal really bad thing that's happened, players don't just get off because it's the holidays. You don't see that happen in football, baseball, basketball, and in college you don't see that happening. You don't get to just leave because your sister's cousin's gonna get married or something like that. I don't know, can you say sister's cousin? Okay, well, you don't see those type of things happening. But in high school, some parents treat high school sports like it's city league sports, where if you're playing city league, oh well, we're not going to be there this weekend because we're going to a birthday function, so he's not going to be there, or he has practice because he's going to be in a a ceremony, whether it's wedding, quinceañera, whatever function it is, right? And then they think, then you can, okay, all right, cool, and then you're gonna come back next week and everything's going to be everything. And that usually happens in city leagues, maybe in AAU leagues. But in high school, when you're in high school, no, that shit don't happen. So I just simply told them, prepare, because those kids, they're going to touch the floor again. But those coaches are probably going to send a message and not play them nearly as many minutes. Because when you sign up for sports like this, you're in. There is no part-time. It's full-time. You in practice every day. You're doing everything you need to do. So I had to give them an example, which is me going back to the Pebble Hills. There was a kid that we trained that was season that started. Pebble Hills was playing, they were playing at Irvin High School. We were actually there. I can't remember if it was a tournament or what it was, but we were there. We happened to be there, and we were partaking and watching the game. So the kid that we were training, he was a starter, post player and stuff. Pretty good. He was good for the team. The mom goes over, and it's almost at halftime of the game. Goes over, taps the kid, and then goes and tells the coach that, hey, he's got to go right now because he has quinceañera practice. Now, I know the conversation because we knew the coach, and because the player actually, we asked what happened, and, they told us what happened. But watching the body language, the coach kind of looked like you seriously coming and asking me that right now during the game? This wasn't preseason. This was an actual game. Mom took the kid to quinceañera practice. And I could just look and tell, I don't even think he's going to see the floor anymore. And lo and behold, his minutes diminished substantially. And then parents were upset about their kid not being playing. And we had to explain it to them in the sense that, you took your kid out of a high school game, and they weren't understanding. Well, yeah, but I said, no, you don't understand. When he's there, he's there. You don't. That's like just, hey, I'm just gonna take out for work because I got to go here. Yeah, okay, all right, that's cool. But you gonna get demoted. You might get fired or written up or something. But that's just not how it works. So it made me think about the fact that I don't think people really understand, even though you're playing, when you start playing high school, even middle school, it should be. I don't know as much. I have to talk to some coaches in middle school. But in high school, you got to be locked in. You are practicing 5 to 6 times a week. 2.5 hour practices sometimes. Maybe even more if UIL doesn't find out. But you are doing this because you're committed to wanting to get everything down. So when you turn around and you're playing and then somebody says that you can't play, that you're going to be leaving because you have, some kind of family function, hey, I'm not going to be mad at you. Just understand that when your ass get back, don't expect to get the minutes that you're going to get, because we decided that all these kids that are here, they decided to prioritize the season, right? So if we're prioritizing the season, you're not prioritizing the season. We're not on the same page, which means we're going to go with who we go with. So it was very fascinating because it still happens and it still will. And I don't think parents really understand that. I might have to put out a post and just say, parents, when the season starts, you can't be taking your kids out for family functions. because uh your kids they're gonna take it out on your kids, and justifiably so. I hate it. I know it's bad. It's not the kids' fault that the parents, booked the trip or something, and their kids playing a sport. But nah, you gotta lock in. You gotta lock in. Because that's what you signed up for. So yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see what happens in the next few weeks. When they get back to season, and I'm gonna ask them like, hey, have their playing time diminished? I hope it does. I hope, because if you don't, you're sending a message that somebody else is so much more important that they can do whatever they want. And when that happens, you're gonna lose the team. You're gonna have dissension. You send a message. Yeah, now next 2 or 3 games, you're not gonna play, how I need you to play. Why not? Well, I don't know how long you're gonna be here. You could be going for another trip in the next 2 weeks. So I can't depend on you. I got to have people here that I can depend on, that I know are going to be here, that's going to go through the trenches with me, right? You out of town sipping on lattes and stuff. Yeah, that's just kind of crazy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that, and I'll hopefully be able to get back to you. Okay, so the last thing I want to discuss is I was going through one of my high school kids, and was discussing passing. They were talking about passing the ball, and they were making mistakes because they were afraid. Meaning, they didn't really know how to pass, to get the pass where they needed to go. The defender was overly aggressive with them, and they were making, passes that they shouldn't have made. And what I described to them is I showed them how to deal with that and how to make it advantageous for them in that situation. And what I explained to them is, you don't want to pass the ball because you're scared and not sure what to do. And that's what would happen. They would get the ball, the person would jump at them, they would freak out, and then, oh my God, I got to pass it. Well, that's not where you were looking to actually pass the ball. But because you got scared because the defender came up on you, you weren't prepared for it. You made a pass that got stolen because it wasn't the pass that you should have made. So I tried to explain to him that you want to pass the ball when you know it's advantageous for you, and when you know you're ready to make that pass. So you can't allow that defender to dictate when you're going to make that pass by jumping over you. So I told him you have to learn to pivot, create that space. If you need to retreat dribble, and then make a pass out of it, or attack and go by him and draw the defense and then make that pass, right? But catching the ball, and as soon as somebody's running up to you, you're scared and you make a pass. Those passes never end well. They rarely end well. I don't want to say never. They rarely end well, because a lot of steals happen from passes like that. And it's really a thing, because I can't tell you how many clients I've had that come through my doors that have that same issue. They don't really know how to protect the ball, whether they're in their triple threat and they receive the ball and the defender comes, or if they're handling the ball and the defender's pressuring them, how to keep the defender off of them and be ready to make a pass. I actually saw somebody in the NBA make a pass against pressure that I thought was astounding. And I was like, that's not how you make that pass. And this person's in the NBA, and it's like, yeah, you know what? They've gotten away. They've never really had to make that pass or make a pass similar to that because of their position, their height, and stuff. And you could just tell that the player was uncomfortable making that pass. And it didn't get stolen because the defender was more in trying to make sure the best player didn't get the ball. So he was more face guarding than trying to see. He was more face guarding and anticipating a screen than to be locked in on, I'm guarding you and now I'm going to play that passing lane. So it was weird because it was like a two-hand shovel pass that they made. And this is a pass that a lot of kids make, and I have to do a drill to show them how to properly make that pass, how to use your body, how to fake the ball, how to, use where the defender's hands are against them to make that pass. If you looking like you're going low and they're trying to reach low to deflect the pass, you throw the pass right over their arm. Or you can fake up, they have their hands up, and you make the bounce pass, right? So there are different ways and techniques to do it, and it's just one of those things where you're trying to understand why is it that people freak out. And a lot of it is kids aren't taught that passing matters. They're not taught that. I could do a clinic on defense and passing, two essential things that kids need. And I could do it for free. And I can guarantee you that I wouldn't have too many kids. Maybe the kids that we train because they understand it. But just putting it out there, kids aren't gonna want to do it because they don't feel that it's vital. I can play defense. But yeah, you don't know how to play defense. I think I touched on that. You think you do, but you don't. You don't know how to play. You might think you know how to play defense when you're at the park or at the rec or, in the city leagues where they're not teaching basic pack line and understanding how to stop gaps, read offensive screens, how to defend it, help side, help recover, help the helper, all of these different things that you're taught once you get into high school. And I have kids that have never really played at that type of intensity and level who are struggling with those two things, passing the ball and playing defense. And it's amazing because something so vital, you have people like, I ain't gonna that. I don't need that. Yeah, you do. Because when I watch your film or when I come to your game, you're turning the ball over because you don't know how to make a basic pass. You don't know how to not freak out when somebody's crowding you. So it is astonishing that, and when I say this, I'm not talking about freshmen. I'm talking about kids who have been playing, I've been on high school teams, 2 and 3 years. That when I put them through a different drill or they say, oh, yeah, this is happening. Or when I make the pass, but it gets stolen. And they're like, well, why? And they don't really want to say anything. And then I have to say, no, you're going to have to tell me. I actually know the answer to the question, but I just need you to go ahead and tell me so you can hear yourself say it. It's because I'm scared it's going to get stolen. Yeah, exactly. And what happens? It gets stolen anyway. So you got to get out of their mind frame, but their mechanics are off. So I have to teach them. And once I teach them and they understand how to use their body, use the faking, the fake, and be patient with that pass and how to pivot if they need it or retreat dribble, those kids come back next time and they like, that worked. I'm having no trouble making passes or dealing with that pressure. Amazing. It's absolutely, it's like, when a kid tells me they're having problems with this and that, and I kind of smile and sometimes they look at me like, well, why are you smiling? What's funny? And I have to explain to them, no, it's because I actually had clients I think it was 3 or 4 days in a row. I had at least one client that I did the same drill with because they had the same issue. And these were different ages at different schools and stuff, and this is what they were all struggling with. So I know it's something systemic, and I know it's something that if there's a way to show them, because I think most high school coaches think, oh well, you got to know how to do these things. But when you watch technically how, like I have to watch technically when they're making a pass, I have to watch technically how that ball coming out, and I'm like, nah, that's not how it's supposed to come out. When you're throwing a one-hand pass and you're going to your right, it doesn't come off both hands. You have your left hand there, but it's coming off your right hand. So if it looks like it's coming off both hands, like you're pushing or you're throwing an overhead pass to the side, that's not what you want. So, that's that. You don't want to make the passes when you're scared or not what sure you want to do. You want to make them when you know it's advantageous to you. So, keep that in mind for you coaches who are who have kids, start paying attention when you're in practice. When you're in practice and they're running drills and they're having to pass, watch how they pass. Don't watch where they're passing. Watch how the ball comes off their hand. You'll be able to tell which ones really know how to pass when they're passing right hand or entry pass or left hand entry pass, high or low off the bounce or straight. You can tell. It's so easy to see. And then you'll have to decide, okay, I'm going to have to do a passing drill. I'm going to have to show these kids how to pass so they can really be effective, because those passes are going to get stolen. Well, that's all I have for today. Hope this was enlightening. I know I talked more about all the stuff that was on my mind, but it was a lot on my mind, y'all. It was a lot on my mind. So shout out to things on my mind. That sounds weird. I'm giving my mind a shout out. Well, look, I hope y'all enjoyed the episode today. Let me know what you think. As usual, like, subscribe, follow, and comment across all our social medias. We got other things going on. If you want to get in touch with me about those things, reach out to me. Let me know what you think, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not, sensitive when it comes to those things. All right. So I will leave it to you. Yeah, everyone out there, have a great Thanksgiving. Really quick thing. I used to, when I was younger, like around, 14, 15, me and my friends used to have this thing where we would starve ourselves. So Thanksgiving's on Thursday. We wouldn't eat starting like Tuesday afternoon. We're not eating until Thanksgiving, because in our mind, we said, well, if we ain't ate in a couple of days, we'll have more room in our stomach and we'll be able to eat more food and we'll love it, right? Man, that shit didn't work. I mean, we starved. Then when we ate, it didn't feel like I was able to eat anymore. Actually, it felt like I was eating less because of the fact that I was eating so fast that I couldn't slow myself down. But yeah, we actually had that thought. Yeah, I think that lasted 1 year. I don't know. I don't think we decided to do it the next year, but we talked about it. It was funny. Like, yeah, man, you eat? No, I ain't ate. I ain't gonna eat. I'm gonna wait. All right, okay, all right. You better not eat. Don't let me find out that you've been eating or something. But nah, that was the plan. And yeah, it wasn't a well-executed plan. It didn't work like what we thought. We probably should have had somebody that was a gastrologist come and sit us down and say, well, actually, these things don't fare well. But in any case, that's what was happening. So I learned my lesson. I don't fast like that anymore. I just enjoy myself when Thanksgiving comes. So have a safe holidays. We're coming to our crazy part. I'm about to post my Black Friday video again. I think it's really funny. You should take a look at it. I'll maybe try to attach it to this, but we'll post it as well. Let's look out for each other. Let's try. Let's try to look out for each other. Enjoy your family. If you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, if it's offensive or whatever, however you enjoy the holiday. If you don't enjoy the holiday, just be safe. Whatever you do, do it safely. Take care of yourself. All right? I'm going to end it like I always do. If it was easy, everyone would do it. I'm out.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.